Hello, it's been a minute since I've made a video. You may have noticed the background is different. I have since moved. Life got very chaotic in January and February. I moved in March, I got COVID. And then life just got in the way. And I just decided, you know what? What's a better reason to come back than a new Alice Feeney? So we are actually at the end of the vlog. Technically, I have already finished this. I have rated it and I have recorded my thoughts and feelings. Early on, I kind of thought I was going to do a mix of like generic thoughts and spoiler thoughts, but this is actually just a full spoiler video. I am thinking out loud. I am spoiling everything. And I don't talk generically enough to make this separated out into like spoiler and non-spoiler sections. It's just all spoilers. So I recommend that if you haven't read this book yet, that you click off, come back when you've already read it, or if you don't plan to read it, then forge on ahead. But I really wanted to read this book. It just came out a couple days ago as of the time of recording, and I'm hoping to have this up in the next couple days. We'll see how that goes. So let's go back in time to about 24 hours ago when I first picked up this book, and we can discover my thoughts on it together. Okay, so I finally, this came out on Tuesday. So I started Good Bad Girl, which I had such a hard time finding this book. I'm not going to keep holding it up because it came out on Tuesday as of the time that I am recording this. And I was so excited, and I got off work on Tuesday and I ran to Target because I had to go grocery shopping. And what better place to grocery shop than where you can also buy books? And then Target didn't have it, which this is the second Alice Feeney book that I have been a fan of hers. No, okay, let's say this coherently. Since I became a fan of Alice Feeney, this is actually, I guess, the third book where I have been anticipating its release. The first was Rock, Paper, Scissors, but I ended up getting that from the library. And then Daisy Darker, which I got from Book of the Month. And then I was so excited for Good Bad Girl, and I was like, it's gonna be Book of the Month. And then it wasn't. And then once I knew that it wasn't, I was so hyped. I was gonna go get it at Target, and then Target didn't have it. And then today, I got off work and I ran to Barnes & Noble, and it was nowhere. I couldn't find it. And I mean, I'm searching all of their displays, I'm searching the new releases, I'm searching the mystery thrillers, the fiction, the horror, no Alice Feeney. And I mean, not just no Good Bad Girl, no Alice Feeney, period. So I am texting my friend, I am furious, I'm gonna burn the bookstore down. Obviously, I'm not gonna do that. But like, I'm so mad because I'm sitting here like, isn't Alice Feeney popular enough? Like, she may not be quite as prolific, is that the word I want? I don't think it is. As well known, as popular as like Ruth Ware or Riley Sager or some of the other ones that are escaping my mind, but she's pretty consistent and I feel like people like her, that I was floored that nobody had this. And I mean, I start checking like the Walmart app, any bookstore, because at this point I was like, I want to get this book. I want to do a reading vlog for this book. I need to get this book today. I would have gotten it from Amazon. I try not to buy my books on Amazon. Obviously, I'm human. It definitely happens. But I try, you know? Like, I do the best that I can. Had I known in advance how hard I was going to struggle to find this book, I would have just gotten it from I would have like just pre-ordered it from my local store. But I didn't, and I knew they weren't gonna have it. Although, how much you wanna bet if I check their inventory, they'll have a used copy tomorrow, because that always happens every time. I'm like, I'm gonna wait and not buy this book on day one. And then I finally cave and I finally buy it full price. And then the used store's like, hey, we have a used copy. And I'm like, oh, I mean, like, good for you, but like, you couldn't have figured this out like a day before. Anyway, so I need to, okay. So anyway, so I'm at Barnes & Noble planning all these next steps. Where am I gonna find this book? Am I gonna even do this reading vlog? It's been 8 months since I did anything. Should I just shoot this idea down right now? And then what do I find? One singular copy that I'm almost convinced someone was hiding for themselves, although why would you not just carry it around? But like, it was just like tucked away. I mean, like the spine was out. It wasn't like literally hidden, but it was not well displayed, and there was only one. And I had a $5 off coupon for being the freebie Barnes & Noble Rewards member. And then I got like double points, so I almost had $5 again. So I'm like, I should go back and buy another book. I found it, I'm excited, I've started it. I don't remember what the plot synopsis is, and I'm not gonna read it because I wanna do more of like a full spoiler vlog where I just kind of talk about all of my feelings on this book. I really don't like these headphones for this. That'll be a fun clip. This is me adjusting my headphones. So, what is happening? I don't know. We are, we are following four or five women so far. It does kind of seem like we're gonna get periodic viewpoints as the story progresses. Cause like I thought we were following Frankie and Patience, but then when all of a sudden Edith shows up and then Cleo shows up, but they both showed up after we were already introduced to them by somebody else. And Edith has had more than one chapter now. So I'm thinking either these are going to be our main four, or we're gonna get kind of 3 or 4 main perspectives, and then kind of like as the characters show up, we're gonna get little vignettes from them. The general consensus of this plot that I've deemed so far is kind of 2 things. One is your kind of relationship with your mother, or a daughter's relationship with her mother specifically. They're all women and they all have complicated relationships with their mothers. Frankie has lost her, or conversely, problems with their daughters. Frankie has lost her daughter when she was a teenager. I don't know currently if her daughter is missing or if she has died. Did they tell me? Oh, not that. Okay, there's also a perspective of someone who has no name, but I'm guessing part of that is because it's going to be relevant later. My money right now is that it's Patience's mom. Let's see. Frankie wasn't always afraid of. Okay, so there is no greater pain than losing a child, and it's hard to forget someone. It's hard to forget someone you so badly want to remember. Her daughter was a teenager when she disappeared, but that doesn't make it any easier than losing a younger child. So disappeared makes me think she's missing and not dead. However, having just reread that, Patience might be Frankie's daughter. So we're following Frankie, who she was working at a prison library, and her daughter is missing. We're following Patience, who is 18, and she is working in an elder care facility, and she has a mysterious past. She doesn't seem to know who she is or where she came from, other than that her name is Patience. And then we've gotten clips from Edith, who is a woman in the elder care facility that Patience works at, and then Cleo, who is Edith's daughter. Edith was tricked into living in this facility. Cleo clearly has a terrible relationship with her mother. And right now, with the perspectives that I've read, I really don't know who is to blame for that. It's very interesting because when you're in Edith's perspective, it's like, how could Cleo do this to her mother? How could she trick her? How could she sell her home, kick her out, and like just put her into this care facility and then abandon her there? But then when you read it from Cleo's perspective, it feels like Edith was a terrible mother and Edith wasn't taking care of herself. So she needed to be in a care facility because Cleo couldn't do that. I don't know enough to know anything yet. But what I also like is while you're kind of exploring these topics of mother and daughter relationships, there is also the concept of being a good, bad girl person and what it means to be doing a bad thing for a good reason or a good thing for a bad reason. The second I have a harder time coming up with examples for, but like just because something is against the rules doesn't mean it's necessarily bad if it's bringing joy to people and not actively hurting anyone. And so there's a lot of this kind of conversation of like, I'm doing something against the rules, but I'm doing it for a good reason. And then of course doing bad things for bad reasons. But it's an interesting topic to discuss. And then there's this mysterious chapter that starts off the whole book about this woman who she's got I think a 6-month-old baby, and she is just stressed out and she feels like, you know, she wanted to be a mother more than anything, but now that she's miserable and she hates it, and she's like wishes her daughter would disappear because she's clearly just stressed and tired and miserable, and I think a single mother, and doesn't have a good support system. But then her daughter is kidnapped and she's like, I am a terrible person because I wished my daughter would disappear and now she's gone. And of course she is heartbroken and like terrified and just, you know, is just, you know, I don't know. What I'm saying is everyone has these horrible intrusive thoughts that we don't mean. There is this, I am so miserable, I would do anything to get out of this exact situation, but of course I don't. Thank you. I have a light on a timer. I probably should have turned it on to begin with. Hello. Welcome to my living room. Do we love my Bob's Burgers portraits? My friend drew those. She's very talented. And I've lost my train of thought. Come here, kitty. Come on. She's staring at me like, why would I do this? Anyway, so I've been rambling for a really long time saying absolutely nothing. I'm really excited to figure out where the story is going to go, and I really like the themes that I think this book is discussing. I'm going to read the synopsis probably at the end or closer to the end because I don't like being spoiled by the synopsis. Normally the synopsis, to me, is supposed to tell you sort of what's kicking off the story. And I've been burned by books being like, here's something that happens at like the 3/4 mark. So I'm like waiting for the story to start by getting to that point. And I hate that. So particularly with authors like Alice Feeney, where they're pretty much an instant buy for me, I've enjoyed enough of their works. I'm going to keep picking them up. I don't need to read the synopsis of an Alice Feeney book to know that I want to read it. So I am not risking being spoiled by this until the end. Also, can we talk about how much I love this cover? Like, it's so pretty. I love the pop of red. And I feel like there's significance somehow because Edith calls Patience a ladybug. There's been a lot of talk about ladybugs, and this is the red and black, ladybug vibes. I am a ladybug girly. I don't like bugs, but ladybugs remind me of my great grandma. She was always painting rocks that looked like ladybugs, and I don't remember where her love of that came from. I did know at some point. I have forgotten in my many years, but it was something that's every time we see ladybugs, it's a family thing that they always remind us of Granny. So I like that little nod in here. Obviously it's not a nod, it's a nod to me, but it's not a real nod. Yeah, so that is all for now. I will check in with you guys when I have more to talk about. Okay, so you're gonna have to forgive the terrible lighting, but I'm not getting up. So I'm like almost 25% of the way through, and I was right that patience is, well, I shouldn't say I'm right. I'm seemingly right that Patience is Francis's daughter. And I just finished watching a movie, that Lifetime movie about Nellie Bly. That was, it was a very interesting movie. It was Lifetime, so like huge grain of salt with the accuracy of it, but it makes me interested in learning more about her. But now I'm like, was Francis her name? And I can't. Frankie, okay. Patience is Frankie's daughter. I think that's the implication we're being fed. But what's more interesting is something's happened to Edith, and I don't know yet what it was, and I haven't gotten her perspective again since this happened. But they definitely want me to think she died, and there is every reason to believe that Patience killed her. But that doesn't make sense. I mean, we know Patience was lying to her. We don't know what about, but we know that she was. And we know that she has Edith's credit card. And after Patience gets fired, she's aware that like her backpack and Edith's illegal dog are still in Edith's room. And she doesn't know how to go back and get them. And the last we heard from Edith was someone just knocking on her door. And she's like, oh, it's you. And we don't know who it was. We don't know what happened. Last we heard, Cleo gets an ominous phone call. Well, Cleo is playing therapist to Frankie. So they're all connected. And this is all like really pretty early on. I mean, I think Goodreads said I was like 20 or 22%. So I'm surprised at how fast they've all connected, which means there's way more going on than I realized, or there better be, because I trust Alice Feeney. I have only been let down by His and Hers, I think is the one I didn't like. I get what people didn't like. I know who you are, but I was here for the weird ride. Like, it's not one I would recommend to most people because of the ending, but I enjoyed it overall. And then His and Hers, I don't remember. I think the villain of it was just too unbelievable for me. And unfortunately, I don't think I wrote a review for it, or like not a good one. Don't remember what it is I hated about it other than the villain, but I don't remember why. So I have pretty high hopes that this book will deliver, but it's interesting to kind of talk my thoughts out as they're happening. I look like I'm not wearing a shirt. I promise. It's just thin straps. But I don't even really know where this is going. Like, we have to tie back to this missing baby prologue. I have no clue what that could be right now, because we don't know when any of this is set. I mean, hi Stormy. Hi pretty girl. I love you too. We didn't get any years. Okay. Thank you. I love you too. She really is the sweetest. We don't know when the beginning was set, and we don't know, or like when the prologue was, and we don't know when right now is set, other than it's been like Mother's Day and another Mother's Day. Presumably the prologue happened first, and then all these new perspectives are happening in the future. And if that's the case, then perhaps Edith was the one who lost her baby, because the person who lost her baby knows who stole the baby and knows why. Oh, okay. But we don't. And I'm assuming it's going to tie into one of these 4 people. Stormy, you are so helpful. I love you too. Are you mad because I haven't done a vlog where you pick my book? I promise we'll do that. Do you want to do that next weekend? Do you want to do a weekend reading vlog next weekend? Okay. So yeah, so I don't really know. I'm guessing the story's going to unfold with what's happening to Edith because I don't know what that is. So it seems like a logical mystery is what's going on with her. And given that she's the oldest character, I feel like everything is going to tie back to her. But I'm not convinced that the prologue is actually related to her. I know I just said it was, but I don't know. I can't decide. But now it is 10:40 and I might read a little bit more, but I think I'm gonna go to bed. And if for no other reason than because my cats are clearly ready for me to go to bed. Good morning. I look more tired than I am. I got up and had breakfast and now I'm all cozy because it's actually cold outside. Fall has given us a preview. It's gonna be 90 for the rest of the week, but I am enjoying that it is only 60 degrees right now. Oh, hi kitty. We've got two. There's Nugget and then Stormy's right here. Anyway, I read a little bit more last night and we found out that Edith isn't dead, but there was a murder at the elder care facility and Edith has gone missing. We know, okay, thank you for playing with the tripod. So we know that Patience has helped Edith escape and it sounds like they're gonna kind of like run away together or get Edith into her old home or something. Now we are still under the impression that Frankie is Patience's mother. However, I'm beginning to think that they want me to think that Frankie has kidnapped Patience. So that would make Frankie the one from the prologue and Patience is the kidnapped baby. But that almost feels too obvious. So if that is what it is, I don't know if I'm gonna like that or not. It's like I enjoy catching the twist, but I don't like when the twist is so obvious that I catch it 100 pages in. But we'll see. Yeah, so I don't know if you can hear Stormy playing soccer. I have no idea what sounds get picked up, but she is very spicy this morning. And yeah, so I'm gonna get back to reading. I think my sister and I are gonna go shopping for a Labor Day picnic today. But otherwise, I don't have too many plans. So I will catch up with you guys later. Bye. I already forgot my percentage. I think I'm like 30-ish percent, 33%. And everything is just getting so twisted, complicated. The lines are everywhere. So we have found out that Patience is living under the good graces of this Jude fellow who turns out is Edith's son. We didn't know she had a son. And this Jude fellow wants Patience to kill his mother, which Edith has now just figured out that they're connected. And so now she wants nothing to do with Patience, but she feels like she is reliant on Patience. So like there's a whole dilemma there, which is where I just stopped reading. So I don't know what's going to happen there. And then this detective who is investigating the murder at the care facility, she suspects Cleo, she suspects Frankie. Meanwhile, it's Joy who died, murdered in an elevator, but she's saying that there was 2 murders. So who is this other dead person? No one knows, and by no one I mean me specifically. And I'm pretty sure, well, I feel like I'm falling for the red herring. Like, it's so hard for me to know, because with Alice Feeney, I feel like she has definitely blown me away with the plot twist, whether or not that's because I was stupid and just didn't see it coming, or because it was genuinely good. Really kind of depends on your opinion, both of the plot twist and me. But, so like, I feel like I'm falling for the red herring by saying that I think Frankie is the woman who, I'm sorry, Cleo. I think Cleo gave birth to Patience and Frankie kidnapped her. Because Patience grew up like on the run. Patience doesn't like know who she really is. Her mom never told her about her father. Like, there's a lot to believe that Patience is the stolen baby, based on what little I know and the fact that there are characters, and usually, you know, a good story, you have to know the characters. Cleo giving birth to Patience and having the baby stolen all kind of seems to track. Frankie knows who Cleo is. Frankie was mysteriously at the old folks facility before the murders. Everybody knows something, and I know the least. And I'm trying to piece these things together, and I'm coming up with just, I don't know. So what do I think has happened so far? Like, how do I think this will end? I have no idea. So I think Cleo gave birth to Patience. Frankie stole Patience. Edith knows Patience is her granddaughter. That's my assumption. Why Patience would even pretend to agree to kill Edith is confusing. Why would Jude want his mother dead? Like, you can have a shitty parent and not want them murdered, just because, like, murder usually gets found out. So, there's that. I don't know who did the murders. I don't know who the other dead person is. And I don't know, aside from Patience, who would even want Joy dead? Like, to the point of murder. And I don't even think Patience would want that. She just didn't like her. Nobody liked her. She was miserable. But I also don't get strong murder vibes from anybody. So, I mean, Frankie's the guiltiest because there's a lot of, like, I have to do this thing. And once I do the thing, people won't forgive me. But, like, we don't know what the things that she's talking about are. So there's a lot of that paints her very guiltily. And the fact that she's clearly been hanging on to a very large secret. So I think she's a red herring. I don't think she did it. Could it have been Cleo? Like, maybe. But what would murdering Joy accomplish? Because what Cleo needs is money and time. I don't see murdering Joy as a means to an end there. Edith would. I think she is both angry enough at Joy in her entire situation, and she seems to be kind of stone-hearted when she needs to be. Like, she's able to kind of, like, disassociate. I don't know if that's the way I want to phrase that, but, like, if something isn't working, she can cut it off. So, like, I could see her being able to mentally kill Joy, but she's also an old woman who we have been told is frail. So how would she accomplish that? And who is this other dead person? I don't know. But what we do know is that Nugget is not the guilty party. And she's like, please stop holding me like that. Ow. Say hi, Peanut. The way this cat puts up with me. Nugget is the best girl. Okay, I'll put you down. Anyway, I know nothing. Just head empty. Bye. Hello. So I have like a quarter of the book left, and so much has just happened. So we figured out that Eleanor is, nope, none of those names. Edith is the mother from the past, but, well, she's the narrator, but Cleo is like, okay, let me backtrack. So Edith is watching baby Eleanor. That's what the baby's name is. And so Edith is the one who was there when the baby was kidnapped, but Cleo was the mother, which makes sense. Edith is Cleo's mother. So Cleo was dealing with postpartum, so Edith was helping out by watching her baby, and the baby gets kidnapped. And this whole time, it's made sense that Patience is actually baby Eleanor, because, oh, I have so many questions. Okay, so I was thinking Frankie kidnaps Cleo's baby, and that's why Frankie's been shady, and like why Patience is like has such a weird past. But we've now just found out because Patience has been arrested for the murder of Joy, among other things like theft, which she actually did sort of do. And we do kind of think that Edith killed Joy. That's definitely what they want us to believe. I'm still skeptical. But because Patience is in prison, and she's at the prison where her mom where Frankie works, who I assume is her mother, but still not clear. But her cellmate is this woman, Liberty, who also has the same freckles that Patience has. So now I'm like, is Liberty actually baby Eleanor? Or no, it can't be Frankie's daughter. Frankie has met Liberty. So Patience has to be Frankie's daughter. I'm pretty sure that's confirmed unofficially. But we also learned that Cleo paid Patience to get Edith out of the home. And Edith at least feels like Patience is her granddaughter. But now that Liberty exists, I feel like that's going to be the twist. That Liberty is baby Eleanor. But what Frankie has to do with Cleo, and why all that's shady, wouldn't make sense then. Right? Liberty plays a part in this. I just don't know what it is. But Frankie's trying to find Patience, and Patience wants to talk to her mother, and they're so close to being in the same room, and they're not doing it. It's driving me nuts. But I have like 100 pages left, so I'm probably just going to finish it and then come back for a full wrap-up. I finished. And I don't know how I feel. I think it is very well written. I was completely engaged. I read it so fast. And I mean, I was connecting dots left and right that may or may not have been connecting.
I've connected the two dots.
You didn't connect shit, but
I've connected them.
But it wasn't a thriller, at least not for me. And that was a little disappointing. I wanted it to be a little bit more thrilling. It was a good mystery. It was good suspense. I just wanted it to be a little bit more thrilling. But I really didn't really know where it was going. I thought I did. I thought I had everything figured out, and I was right to some extent. Frankie did kidnap Patience. I was correct about that. That might actually be the only thing I was correct about. Because as it turns out, Patience killed Joy by accident, or at least in self-defense. She wasn't intending to commit murder, but Joy was trying to kill Edith, and so Cleo and Patience were saving Edith, and thus a scuffle ensued, and Patience killed Joy. So they all knew about it. They all agreed to cover it up. Edith knew Patience was her granddaughter, but wasn't really telling anyone that. She was allowing that secret to kind of stay. And then it turns out Frankie is also Cleo's daughter. She had a child when she was 16 and gave it up for adoption. And then Frankie finally, like when Frankie was 18, she figured that out. And then Edith snubs Frankie when she finds that out. So then Frankie steals Cleo's daughter because that's just what you do. Frankie's defense was that Patience deserved to be loved, and she did not think that Patience was getting love in that home, so she was kidnapping her to give her a better life. That doesn't mean that she was right, although she did give Patience a good childhood. That doesn't negate what she did. And in the end, they all kind of reconcile and Edith dies. And you know, it's a nice little bow, nice little happy ending. But I'm kind of left wondering what the point was. Because I figured out so early on that Frankie was the kidnapper. The only twist really at the end was the fact that Frankie was Patience's sister and that Patience is the one who killed Joy, which is fine. But neither of those mysteries was really what I cared about. Like, I was actually far more interested in this kidnapping. So, like, it was just an okay time. I really enjoyed the conversations about doing good things or doing bad things for good reasons, and how when there are two sides to the story, both sides believe that they're true and correct, and therefore plenty of people do bad things for good reasons, but they don't think they're doing bad things. Like, would you recognize yourself as the villain if you were the villain? Probably not, because you would be doing something that you thought was good for your belief set. But basically, I think what it comes down to is it was an okay time. I think if you like Alice Feeney, you're going to like this. Obviously, if you've watched this far with all the spoilers, you've already read it, presumably, or you had no interest in the first place. But I think it's interesting, and I think if you go in expecting it to be a mystery with suspense, you'll have a good time. I wouldn't expect it to be a thriller. Like, it's not, there's not a lot of action. But that was okay. It worked well enough. It just wasn't quite the story I expected. And I think even the description makes it sound more thrilling than it actually is. And I think that's going to do it a bit of a disservice. The other thing I didn't like was that, what was the point of Liberty? There really wasn't a point. She served as a red herring for being this kind of look-alike to Patience, but that was hardly discussed. That just was something, and I may have even made that assumption more than like the book wanted me to. And then she existed to help Frankie locate Patience via phone hacking, but then that basically is a non-issue. Like, all it does is serve to have Patience and Liberty, or I'm sorry, Frankie and Liberty have one conversation that allows Frankie to leave the prison library and try and track down her daughter, which at that point Cleo had already taken her. So, but that information could have been conveyed in almost any other way. So she just kind of was there, but didn't really serve her purpose. And in the very, very end, Frankie is clearly still in touch with Liberty, but it doesn't matter. So I'm left wondering, what was the purpose of her? And I also feel like Jude he wasn't pointless. He did serve a point, but they made him out to be creepy and menacing and kind of feeling like, up until you know better, you think he's requesting sexual favors out of Patience, but then in the end, he's just an asshole. But like, what was he doing? Like, every time that he would come up to Patience's room, what was he doing? We never get that answered. Like you really imply that it's sexual favors. And I guess maybe he was stealing her crafting that he was selling, but we knew that was happening. So why this like veiled, threatening, I have to give him something I don't want to give, which of course her art should not have been stolen from her, but the way it's presented is like sexual assault. And then you find out he's gay, that he's not doing that, and you really don't come back to their agreement. And I assume it has to be that he was stealing her art, but it just didn't really work for me. So he was a necessary character. I just don't think he was fleshed out well enough. So he was kind of like, to me, but it was okay. And yeah, overall, I ended up giving it a 4 stars just because, like I said, it was very, I hate to say something was very readable. That feels like not the compliment that I mean it as. I was very engaged. I was very curious. I connected to the characters and I wanted to know what happened. But with Alice Feeney, I am always kind of expecting a thriller with a little bit more action and a little bit more, with more higher, a story with higher stakes. And this all kind of felt more just like a drama. So my expectations weren't exactly correct for it, but I do think it was a solid story. So like I said, if you're a fan of Alice Feeney, I definitely recommend picking it up. I think it's a good time. Just have average expectations. I will say Daisy Darker, still my absolute favorite of hers. And I actually spent a long time trying to find like all my Alice Feeney books so I could like have them in the background. I own 3, including Good Bad Girl, and one of them is on loan to my friend. I actually have not purchased the rest of her books. I apparently got all of them from the library. And we are pro-library in this house. I just thought I owned more. Anyway, that is all from me for now, and I will talk to you guys in another video maybe soon.